Gretchen Ho.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. Mary Jane Veloso will be transferred to a Philippine prison tomorrow. Her family hopes that the convicted drug trafficker will soon be a free woman by way of a presidential clemency.
Several groups will question the legality of the 2025 budget before the Supreme Court. That is, if President Marcos does not veto it or send it back to the bicameral committee for revisions.
And there are indications of an emerging uranium trade here in the Philippines. We will be telling you what the government is doing to keep this dangerous radioactive element off our shores.
In less than 12 hours, Mary Jane Veloso will be back in her home country after more than a decade of incarceration in Indonesia.
The convicted drug trafficker will be flown in early Wednesday morning from Jakarta and will be brought to the Correctional Institution for Women in Mandaluyong City.
Between now and tomorrow morning, what can we expect from this homecoming? I was going to say long-awaited homecoming. Let's get the latest from News 5 correspondent Rainiel Pawid, who joins us now all the way from Indonesia. Hi, Rainiel. Are you in Jakarta? Tell us how things are and what's the schedule going to be like? Do you guys have access?
Yes, ladies, now we're still inside the lounge inside this Jakarta airport, and we're awaiting for the 10 p.m. press con of Indonesian government and the Philippine government. And alongside with that press con is the appearance for the very first time of Mary Jane Veloso here with the local media. And exactly 8 in the evening, Philippine time, we are waiting for the arrival of Mary Jane Veloso here inside the Jakarta airport. And by 12 midnight here in Jakarta, we are expecting to fly to Philippines. So the process of turnover between Indonesian government and the Philippine government, they said this one is a direct turnover. No ceremonial turnover will be made. They will just give our hands down Mary Jane to the Philippine government. And since yesterday, all travel documents of Mary Jane Veloso are signed. So we are not waiting too long to see Mary Jane Veloso by now. Ladies.
Rainiel, I heard on Frontline Pilipinas a while ago, the family saying that they will make sure to make Mary Jane very happy when they get to be with her. Is any member of the family there in Indonesia to meet her? Magkakaroon ba ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng family moment itong si Mary Jane pagka-handover sa kanya?
Yes, Gretchen, no, nakausap natin kanina yung official mula sa Bureau of Corrections, and the process of turnover ay wala nang pamilya or kaanak ang pinapunta dito sa Indonesia dahil nga naging mabilis yung pagproseso ng kanyang pagbabalik sa Pilipinas. At pagdating naman dyan sa airport ay wala na ring mangyayaring pagsundo at didiretso na nga lahat sa Correctional Institution for Women sa Mandaluyong City. At nakausap na natin mismo si Director General Katapang ng Bucor at sinabi niya na pagdating doon sa sa Women's Correctional ay hindi ganoon kahaba yung oras ng pagkikita ng pamilya Veloso at ni Mary Jane dahil kailangan pa rin sumailalim ni Mary Jane dito sa tinatawag na 5-day quarantine period. At ang magandang balita naman dyan ay pag natapos si Mary Jane itong 5-day quarantine period na ito, ay tiyak na mabibigyan siya at ang kanyang pamilya ng full day schedule sa bisperas ng Pasko at maging sa Pasko.
Rainiel, pagdating naman ni Mary Jane Veloso dito sa Pilipinas, who are expected to be present in the airport, mga officials natin, who exactly will be there?
Sa pagdating sa Pilipinas, kung sino yung delegation na pumunta dito sa Jakarta. So officials from the Department of Foreign Affairs, National Bureau of Investigation, and yung Bureau of Corrections, sila lang din yung magta-transfer directly doon sa sa Women's Correctional. So malinaw yung sinabi ng DOJ na pagdating sa airport ay wala nang sunduang magaganap dahil lahat naman ng papeles na kinakailangan to exit or to enter Philippines at to exit yung airport natin ay planchado na dito pa lang sa Jakarta.
Okay, so in short, wala tayong inaasahang very many grand celebrations, homecoming, reunions, no? Kumbaga, kailangan natin ilagay yung sarili natin sa mindset na although it's a long-awaited homecoming, ano pa rin to,
Mhm.
parang kumbaga prison to prison transfer of a prisoner.
Yes, tama, no? Walang engrandeng pagsalubong at walang engrandeng selebrasyon. Pero bukas ay inaasahan na magkakaroon din ng press con pagdating mismo doon sa Correctional Institution for Women. At sinabi naman ng Bucor na all is well at all set na rin pagdating naman doon sa selda na pupuntahan nga or paglalagyan ni Mary Jane. Ito rin yung kwarto na pinaglagyan, no, o dito inilagay si Cassandra Leong, itong related POGO Queen ng Porac, Pampanga.
Rainiel, the government says that this was a practical arrangement with the Indonesian government. But alam natin
Mhm.
that apart from this, several prisoners were also transferred to their home countries from France, from Australia, from the UK. Do you have any idea as to what we gave Indonesia in exchange for Mary Jane Veloso, in exchange for her custody?
Kumbaga may kapalit ba, no, for all these
Mhm.
prisoners
So,
being released?
yeah, pagdating sa usapin ng palitan, ay wala namang direktang sinabi itong Indonesian government. Pero yung una nilang pahayag 2 weeks ago ay sinabi nila na itong turnover na mangyayari ay dapat reciprocal sa pagitan ng Philippine government at ng Indonesian government. So ibig sabihin, kung sa oras daw na mangailangan sila at kailangan din nila na hugutin yung isang let's say, kriminal na Indonesian national dyan sa Pilipinas, ay sana raw ganun din ang maging hakbang ng Pilipinas gaya ng ginawa kay Mary Jane Veloso dito sa Indonesia.
Kumbaga parang may advance credit ka nor advance load. So para advanced favor, mauna sila.
Yes, correct, no? Advance favor on their end, pero ito nga yung tinatawag nila na parang cycle to, no? Na kung ano yung binigay namin ay sana rin matanggap namin sa aming counterpart, which is the Philippines. So, pero sa usapin na to, we're looking ahead, no? Pero sa ngayon ay wala pa namang hinihiling itong Indonesian government. And maganda rin na talakayin natin na ang pag-turnover kay Mary Jane ay pag-turnover din doon sa lahat ng maaaring maging desisyon sa kanyang paglaya, sa kanyang pananatili sa selda, ay lahat na ay nasa kamay na ng Philippine government.
Tama ka dyan, Rainiel, pero akong titignan mo kasi, wala siyang kaso dito sa Pilipinas. Tama ba ako? Convicted siya sa Indonesia, pero sa Pilipinas, walang current case. And paano mo nga ba kakasuhan, no, si Mary Jane kung ginawa niya yung krimen sa Indonesia? Ano yung maugong na pinag-uusapan dyan? We do know that clemency is one of the things they're looking at. But is commutation also on the table? Ano yung mga naririnig mo dyan regarding that?
By laws, no, tama, walang kasalanan si Mary Jane na nagawa diyan sa Philippine land. Pero ang kanilang tinitignan dito is yung pagbibigay nga ng favor of turnover. So ibig sabihin na imbes na dito ay nailatag na siya sa death row, nabigyan ng reprieve, no, doon sa death row, at ginawa na lang na sentence nga sa kulungan. So sa ngayon, kung ano yung huling desisyon dito ng Indonesian government na ikulong lamang siya, ay ikukulong din siya dyan sa Pilipinas. Pero tama yung tanong mo, Gretchen, dahil meron nga na dito yung tinatawag na Bali 9 na yung ilan sa kanila na mga Australian national na nakagawa ng krimen dito sa Indonesia nung binigyan sila ng turnover doon sa kanilang bansa. Once they entered ito ang Australian airspace ay wala na silang kaso doon sa Australia. Hindi nga sila nanatili ni isang araw sa kulungan doon sa Australia. So we're looking on the technicalities and bylaws dito nga paglilipat. Pero sa ngayon, nakakuha rin naman tayo ng information mula dito sa Department of Foreign Affairs na yung usapin ng clemency ay wag muna nating tignan dahil tanging si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos lang yung makakapagbigay niyan. And kailangan ko rin i-point out na we have this source dito we have our government source na mukhang yung executive clemency ay hindi na tatagal ng 3 buwan, no? So meaning on the first quarter of 2025 ay possible mabigyan na ng clemency itong si Mary Jane.
Curious lang din ako, Rainiel, no? Ang tagal na kasi ni Mary Jane dyan, di ba? For a long time, it was Joko Widodo who was the chief executive of Indonesia. We all know how much of a hardliner he is. Pero nagulat ako kasi under the new president, no, si President Subianto, na dating hardliner din, is this a new policy of the Subianto government na parang, o sige, mas light na lang tayo in terms of pagpaparusa sa mga drug-related crimes?
We've talked to several local media here, no? Ang sinabi nila, it's not getting into the lighter side nitong pagpapatupad ng batas, but it's more of the discretion nito nga nagiging namumulo. So whether si Widodo or the current president, nilagay na lang nila yung bola doon mismo sa pagde-decide nung kung sino man yung head nitong current administration. And fortunately, sinabi nila na itong ang current administration dito sa Indonesia ay medyo favorable on giving a little bit of pardon at pagbibigay nga ng reprieve doon sa ilang mga foreigner na nagkasala. And going back doon sa sinabi ko na reciprocal itong ginagawa nila, I think we should take that as the bottom line of this one. So kung sinabi nila na reciprocal, meaning meron na siguro silang niluluto underway, no? We don't know. We don't know yet kung ano itong reciprocal na sinasabi nila. But rest assured na sabi nga nung ilan dito na nakausap din natin from the media, we just have to wait kung ano nga ba itong hinihintay pa ng Indonesian government na yun nga, tulad ng nasabi nyo, baka may kapalit.
Okay, Rainiel, kanina no, we were showing the video material of Mary Jane Veloso. Nasa van siya. And I believe even in that video, she was speaking in Indonesian. Sinabi niya, Merry Christmas, bumati siya. Pati in-advise daw siya nung kanyang pare to stay healthy. Rainiel, kayo ba dyan, did you get another opportunity to interact with Mary Jane? At may chance bang humarap pa siya sa media bukas pagdating dito sa Pilipinas?
As of the moment, ang hinihintay lang natin is yung 10 p.m. press call. Doon pa lang natin siya unang masisilayan si Mary Jane, no? At ito rin yung unang pagkakataon na bibigyan ang media ng 15-minute time para makausap nga itong si Mary Jane Veloso. And as we speak, magkakaroon ng press call at I think pinapapasok na ang lahat ng media. So we have to settle na at kailangan na namin pumasok kasi very heightened na yung security ngayon dito and yung mga pinilang and registered yung pinapapasok na sa ngayon. And I will show you kung ano nga ba yung itsura nitong magiging press con area kung saan ilalapit si Mary Jane. So from the departure area ay papasok pa doon sa isang special room kung saan nga bibigyan tayo ng pagkakataon for a 15-minute talk with Mary Jane.
Rainiel,
before heading to the Philippines.
huling katanungan na lang bago ka namin pakawalan the DOJ has assured that she will not be placed in the same prison as her illegal recruiters. Tapos sinasabi rin maaari siya mag-testify to solidify the case against them. What did General Katapang say about assuring the security of Mary Jane Veloso, knowing that this is also a concern of the family to keep her safe from the syndicate that she...
With regard to the security level, pagdating doon sa tutuluyan ni Mary Jane, meron siyang 60 days, no? Hindi mo na siya isasama doon sa selda ng mga regular na PDL. So may assessment pa kasi na magaganap sa kanya and we have to also consider yung medical assessment na ibibigay sa kanya. Aside from yun nga, yung pinauwi siya, kailangan din tignan dahil nagkaroon ng bukol si Mary Jane, no? Ito, health concern niya naman to. Nagkaroon ng bukol si Mary Jane sa dibdib at sa ovaryo. Since nandito siya sa Indonesia, ay pinapagamot na yun, no? Even kahit na nasa loob siya ng piitan dito.
Well, 10 p.m., we'll let you go. 10 p.m., there is a press conference. And at 1 a.m., I believe Philippine time is the flight of Mary Jane to the Philippines. It is a day that we never thought would come, but we hoped for a very long time. Thank you so much for bringing updates to us. Rainiel Pawid, who is reporting to us live from the Soekarno-Hatta Airport in Indonesia.
Up next, more critics weigh in on the disparities in the allotments made by Congress on the 2025 national budget. Their insights when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Critics believe that the 2025 budget is a poorly made one, with questionable cuts and insertions coming to light. Now, groups are asking President Bongbong Marcos not to sign the bill without major revisions, or they will run to the Supreme Court to hold the funding off altogether. JC Cosico with the story.
Advocates of universal health care and leaders of several groups agree zero subsidy for PhilHealth doesn't make sense, legally and morally. Former Finance Undersecretary Cielo Magno raises the irony of having nothing for the state health insurer, while there are billions set aside for a project called Medical Assistance for Indigent Patients or MAIP. MAIP requires guarantee letters from politicians.
Malinaw na ang MAIP program ay para lamang sa interes ng mga politiko. Patronage politics po ito eh. Kailangan mo munang mamalimos bago ka makinabang sa tax na binayaran mo na para sana sa kalusugan mo.
For the BICAM, PhilHealth can survive and still thrive since it can always dip into its 600 billion peso reserve funds. But that's not the point according to Magno. The law indicates that the government should give PhilHealth allocation every year.
Ang sinisimbolo nito ay yung pagtalikod ng gobyerno sa responsibilidad niya na pondohan yung gastusing pangkalusugan ng mga kababayan nating mahirap, senior citizens, PWDs at 4-piece recipient.
Zero budget for PhilHealth and reduced ones for other agencies like the Education Department and the DSWD's 4-piece program. It looks like infrastructure is getting top priority in 2025 for the Marcos administration, with the DPWH getting the lion's share of the budget.
Dahil ito po ay pro-politician at anti-poor. Na ito na po ata ang pinaka-corrupt na budget sa history ng Pilipinas. Dahil kitang-kita naman na ang nangingibabaw ay ang interes ng mga politiko at hindi ang interes ng taong bayan.
If President Marcos does not veto the budget or let lawmakers take another good look at it, these concerned groups will be taking their case to the Supreme Court.
Para humingi ng TRO or status quo ante order para pag-usapan uli sa Kongreso yung budget na ito. Nasa Pangulo ngayon ang opportunity na panindigan yung kanyang budget.
PBBM and lawmakers have said PhilHealth can rely on its extensive reserve. Officials of the health insurer are deferring to the executive and legislative. PhilHealth also promises two things: no additional contributions among members and an unhampered distribution of benefits to those who need them.
Yung pong ating premium contributions ay nakasulat or nasasaad dun sa Universal Healthcare Law, at ang pinakahuli pong premium increase doon is yung 2024 na maximum of 5%. So na-reach na po natin yon.
Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, who's also chair of the PhilHealth Board of Directors, assures there's money to go around. There is 284 billion pesos in corporate operating budget for the state insurer, a huge chunk of which, or 271 billion pesos, will go to member benefits.
Hindi po magsasara ang PhilHealth. Even without the subsidy, we can continue to provide all the health benefits dito sa population na to, yung indirect, yung indigent, yung senior citizen, yung PWD. They will still be covered their benefits.
For News 5, I'm JC Cosico. We are One News.
So everyone's asking now, among other things, is what happens if the president sends back the budget to Congress? Well, this early, some lawmakers are already dismissing an idea as such. The details from Marian Enriquez.
Armed with slogans, various groups trooped to Batasang Pambansa on Tuesday. They are protesting what they call is the rampant corruption and manipulation of the 2025 national budget. They are certain pork barrel is very much present in next year's allocation. Progressive organizations are also lambasting the reduction in the much-needed budget for frontline agencies and sectors like agriculture and health.
Ibalik ang kinaltas na budget para sa mga serbisyong panlipunan, alisin ang lahat ng forma ng pork barrel.
One controversial budget cut of much impact impact happened to the Education Department. At least 10 billion pesos was slashed from the agency's spending funds, covering initiatives like a computerization program. President Marcos has promised to fix the DepEd's budget. But this early, he said he is not throwing out what Congress has already passed.
I do not want to line item veto anything because that just gets in the way.
But for Ibon Foundation head Sunny Africa, it's not only the DepEd budget that's the problem. Africa believes the coffers that Congress came up with does not reflect a real economic development program. So what can Marcos Jr. do at this point when even the constitutionality of parts of the budget is being questioned?
Return it to Congress. I mean, should we be held hostage by the timetable? I mean, the bottom line is we are getting a really bad anti-development, anti-people, pro-pork, pro-politician, pro-patronage budget. Are we going to let the lack of time be an excuse to let that budget pass? Because, again, elections campaign, people are going to forget about this. So for us, a decent president would draw the line. A decent president would say, I admit, this is a really bad budget. People's needs aren't being provided for. There's too much for politicians, pork, infrastructure, not enough for education, health, housing, social protection. Let's go back to the drawing board.
But lawmakers are divided over the issue of revising the budget, should the president ask for it.
I don't think there's any need for us to reconvene as a BICAM. Agencies always want to have more, but unfortunately, konti po talaga at limited yung resources natin. So the balancing act for Congress and the Senate becomes very tricky.
In the event that congressmen agree to revisit the already ratified national budget, they have until the end of the year to reconvene or hold a special session, just enough time to avoid a reenacted budget. Several agencies' funds may have been slashed, but that's not the case for the spending money of the House of Representatives. The BICAM doubled this to more than 33.6 billion pesos.
Nakikita natin yung paglaki ng requirements ng House in terms of facilities. So, it's a problem that we cannot postpone any further, and that's why the House has taken steps.
Congressmen also went on the defense of the restored budget for the Ayuda para sa Kapos ang Kita program. ACAP gets 26 billion pesos, which several pundits believe is virtual pork barrel coming in the election year of 2025.
Under DSWD siya, at hindi siya pork barrel, no? Ang implementing agency nun is ang DSWD.
For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
At this point, let's bring into the discussion Representative Jay Conggun. He is the Assistant Majority Leader of the House of Representatives. Magandang gabi, Kong.
Good evening po sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi po.
Narinig ko kung naman yung paliwanag din nyo sa press con, no? For the, kumbaga, your own personal reasons for reducing the budget for DepEd, for PhilHealth, etc. Sa amin kasi meron kaming medyo pinagdedebatehan pa dito the whole day kung dapat ba talaga pinag-plus-plus natin no, yung budget ng DepEd, budget ng CHED, SUCs, pati ng TESDA. And even then kasi medyo kulang pa rin siya at mas mataas pa rin yung over 1 trillion budget ng DPWH.
Actually, kanina, no, nung kinausap ako kanina ng mga kaibigan natin sa media, no, naglabas tayo ng isang listahan, no, na umaabot ng 1.055 trillion ang budget ng ating education sector at nasa 1.033 trillion naman yung budget ng DPWH. So naipakita rin doon na mas malaki talaga yung budget na inilaan ng Kongreso sa education sector.
Oh, pero kaya lang kung kasi parang di naman normally ina-add lahat yon, no, to get an aggregate parang amount. That's what a lot of the critics are saying. Siguro, some are saying dapat yung DepEd and CHED if you wanna add two figures together. Kasi nga, as it is, the TESDA's under the DOLE and the state universities and colleges are already under the LGUs.
Kasi ang pinag-uusapan naman dito is under ng education, ano. So nakikita rin natin tulad sa DPWH, nakalagay din diyan yung budget for repairs at saka yung additional classrooms, no, silang implementing agencies, no. Talagang doon nakalagay yung budget para doon, no. So ang pinag-uusapan kasi natin dito, in totality, ano ang ibinigay na budget natin sa education sector. So, total, malaki pa rin, pinakamalaki pa rin. So, it means na priority pa rin ng ating pamahalaan ang edukasyon.
Pero kasi yun nga po yung criticism is that it's unconstitutional kasi nakasaad sa batas, sa konstitusyon na plain and simple that the education budget has to get the biggest chunk of the pie. Aren't you worried na baka ma-technical kayo, baka umabot to sa Supreme Court kasi may mga grupo na po na nag-aaral?
So yun nga yung sinasabi natin, yun nga yung sinasabi ko kanina pa na under the law, ang sinasabi nga is education sector, no? So ang sinasabi naman namin, pinakamalaking binigyan ng budget ang pondo para sa edukasyon. No? So, naandyan lahat yung listahan na nilabas na rin natin na kung ano yung mga pondo na binigyan ng Kongreso.
Congressman, puntahan po natin yung dinagdag sa DPWH, which is around 288.7 billion. They are saying that only 800 billion was proposed by Malacanang. Ito pong 288.7 billion, saan po ito mapupunta? Bakit po dinagdagan yung proposal?
Hindi pa kami yun nga yung isang sinasabi natin, may mga usapan kasi diyan, syempre na hindi rin naman kami previous sa usapan, so hindi ko rin kayang sagutin yan as of this time. Yeah.
Okay, Congressman, if the President does send the budget back to Congress, right now sinasabi niya he's not looking to exercise yung kanyang power to veto any line item, pero he did say na gusto niyang ayusin pa yung budget ng education sector. So if he does send it back to Congress, are you willing to reconvene?
If ever, pero ang sinasabi nga ng ating Pangulo ay exercise yung kanyang veto power as of this time, at talagang nakikita naman natin naaprubahan na rin sa dalawang in both chambers yung budget, so hindi natin nakikita na kailangan pa mag-reconvene, pero syempre the President he can exercise his veto power anytime, at syempre pag nangyari yun, ako personally wala naman akong problema kung magtatrabaho kami overtime.
Congressman, is that the only option that the President has? Kasi sabi nga niya na ayaw niya gamitin yung line item veto power niya kasi tedious yun at aayusin na lang itong educational budget. So, ano pa ba yung ibang options? Kung hindi niya i-veto, kung hindi niya babalik, is there any way to fix that? That would be constitutional still.
Yes, may mga savings naman dyan, kasi may mga savings naman for 2 years in a row ang Department of Education, pwede rin nilang kunin doon yung 12 billion na kakulangan, dahil medyo malaki pa naman yung kanilang naiiwan na savings, na unutilized for almost 2 years sa kanilang computerization program, so isa yan sa mga paraan na po pwedeng ayusin, pero as of this time we are still waiting for the action of the executive department, at yun nga ayaw rin nating pangunahan yung galaw ng eksekutibo.
What legislation would be needed to get access to those savings? Sino yung mai-involve doon?
Kailangan i-request sa Department of Budget and Management, sa Department of Finance, mas madali na mas madali na
proseso.
Solusyon 'yon, proseso 'yon, na at least magagamit yung mga natitirang pondo ng mga nakaraang taon.
Okay. Actually, yung isa pang part ng batikos doon, speaking of, I know nabanggit nyo rin yung low utilization rates ng tong mga ahensyang natapyasan, but a lot of people are saying, bakit instead of, changing sino yung namumuno sa mga ahensya na yon, or looking into that since meron naman kayong power nga to call hearings and inquiries into legislation, as early as now, kung nagtataka lang kami, if meron ba kayong mga plans, para kung the same way na pinapanagot natin, di ba, yung poor liquidation ng confidential funds, yung poor utilization ng budget, are we looking at improvements to that?
Katulad nga kanina, nagsimula na yung hearing sa PhilHealth, no? Dahil nakita natin na talagang kailangan na gastusan ng PhilHealth, no? Yung additional benefits ng ating mga miyembro. Katulad nga niyo ng Department of Education, kailangan galingan din nila yung kanilang utilization ng paggamit ng kanilang pondo para at least mas marami makinabang ang mga kababayan. So, we are looking into that din. Titingnan din natin yun kung paano mas mapapabilis, no? At mas mapapadali, no? With, syempre, hindi na sasakripisyo yung accountability and transparency, no? Ng bawat ahensya sa kanilang paggastos ng pondo ng ating gobyerno.
Okay, bilang huling katanungan na lang po, no, I just want to get your reaction. We had Ibon Executive Director Sonny Africa here on the show last night, and he said that this budget reflects this administration's priorities, that it took away from health, it took away from education, it took away from agriculture, and added to DPWH, it added budget to patronage politics provisions such as the AIX and ACAP. What would you say to that? Na wala daw economic plan at mukhang gustong umaasa lamang sa gobyerno, sa politiko with this budget that you crafted?
Well, opinion po niya yun. Ano? Opinion nila yun. At kami may different opinion. Nakikita naman natin ang pagiging sensitibo ng ating pamahalaan sa pangangailangan ng ating mamamayan. Dahil syempre gusto rin nating makatulong sa ating mga kababayan, no? At isa sa mga prioridad ng ating gobyerno ngayon is paulit-ulit ko sinasabi is yung education, syempre yung ating mga development sa infrastructure, and development sa agrikultura, no? So kasi napakadali na tignan pag ikaw nasa labas at wala ka sa loob, no? Pero pag nakikita mo kung ano yung ginagawa, no, na trabaho na ibinibigay ng trabaho ng ating pamahalaan upang makatulong sa ating mamamayan, so kami syempre nasa loob. So alam namin yun, yung effort na ibinibigay ng ating gobyerno.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa oras nyo and for taking our call fairly regularly. Assistant Majority Leader over the line, Representative Jay Conggun, maraming salamat.
We're taking another quick break, but up next, how long has illicit uranium trading been passing through the Philippines, and what are the risks involved? We'll speak with the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute about this when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
The biggest Philippine offshore gaming operator hub in the country is finally out of commission. Earlier today, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla was joined by the Philippine National Police, the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, and the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation for the inspection and ceremonial closure of the former Island Cove property in Kawit, Cavite. The property was once owned by the Remulla family.
I hope this puts to rest the issue na may POGO hub pa rin dito sa Cavite. Nung nag-resume ako as governor 2019, ginagawa lang to. Tapos 2020, nag-COVID na. So hindi na kami nag-inspection nun.
The whole compound is around 30 hectares and will remain uninhabited for the time being. The foreign workers from the POGO hub have been downgraded from work visas to tourist visas, according to the Bureau of Immigration. Meanwhile, Filipino workers who lost their jobs have been prioritized in DOLE and DTI job fairs. The PAOK and PNP will remain vigilant on the activity of the property as smaller and unauthorized POGO hubs could emerge following the closure.
When they mushroom, yun po yung mga Filipino na wala ng trabaho, they know yung paano po mag-work yung POGO natin. So yun po yung nahanap natin.
Okay, moving on to another topic. The Department of Science and Technology's PNRI, or Philippine Nuclear Research Institute, revealed that operations against illicit uranium trade began after they got a tip from the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. That was earlier this year. Now, according to the DOST PNRI's director, Dr. Carlo Arcilia, a whistleblower provided the IAEA with information that there is an underground network operating in the Philippines that is involved in the illicit sale of uranium. Now, this raised concerns, especially because depleted uranium is a radioactive material, and the enriched form of which is key to making nuclear bombs. Just last week, the NBI presented 3 individuals arrested in Pasay for coddling metal bars and black powder, all of which tested positive for uranium. Let's get more details on that story from Dr. Carlo Arcilia himself, the director of DOST's PNRI. Good evening, Doc. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, glad to be here.
Okay, were you shocked that apparently the Philippines is part of the underground network in the illicit or illegal trade of uranium?
Okay, first, this uranium is depleted uranium, right? So which means it's not as dangerous as the enriched uranium that's used for a nuclear fuel, okay? In fact, the uranium, the useful uranium, the uranium-235 has been taken out and only a small amount remains. But the depleted uranium is very dense and hard, and it is an ideal material for projectiles, bala, ammunition, because it can penetrate armor.
Yes,
Okay.
and
The more dangerous part is the powdered one, because you can mix it with conventional explosives and it becomes a dirty bomb. Because the only danger from depleted uranium powder is if you inhale it, and it's an alpha emitter, and if that alpha emitter is inside your body, that can cause cancer.
Yeah, but the other
yeah.
You're right, Dr. Arcilia, but the other scary thing is, of course, a lot of people panicked, especially, I think the most publicized raid was the one down in Cagayan de Oro, and it was found in a subdivision, like may nag-test positive, right, for traces of uranium-235 and 238. But a lot of people are also saying is, itong mga depleted uranium, sino ba yung bumibili niyan? It's terrorist organizations now. Exactly what you said, to make weapons. Right.
Okay, it's again, it's for definitely not for nuclear bombs. Okay. Now, the thing is this: when we got the tip from the IAEA, some persons went to DOST office to try to identify it. Their modus operandi is to actually sell the material to pass it off as precious metals like platinum. May mga maloloko sila, no? So, and then, because then they could earn millions from that. But I don't think they were sophisticated because they didn't know how to handle the materials. And in fact, one of the condominiums where it was found is there in Pasay. Actually, it's an upscale condominium. It's right beside Marriott, behind Marriott. So one of the condominiums there, and our people actually try to decontaminate it. So they've had these materials for some time, and unfortunately, even there were kids in this apartment, and we would have wanted to actually have the kids analyzed for cytogenetic analysis to see if their DNA has been affected by this material. Now, the ironic thing about this is that when these people who were caught were charged, we had to charge them under our law, Republic Act 2207 of 1968, drafted before all of you were born. And the punishment for illegal sales of unlicensed uranium is 10,000 pesos plus and 5 years imprisonment. Napakamura daw, ginikas na lang, nagpiyansa na yung dalawa.
Balikan
Anyway,
natin, Doctor, yung sinabi mo about the kids in the condominium.
Maya.
Yun nga meron ba tayong capacity? I guess some of the immediate thoughts, no? Number one, yung mga bata na affected. Do we have the facilities, the capability to test them? And then
Yes,
second, do we have the facilities and capability to decontaminate the affected areas?
Yeah, no, we have the tools. Actually, had last week was our Atomic Energy Week. We had an open house here at PNRI. We have very nice facilities here. You could even see some samples of depleted uranium. I mean, my people there are wearing hazmats because they didn't know what the things were. But we have also enriched uranium here in our facility because we have a research reactor. It's an active reactor. It's not for power, but we've had this for more than 50 years. You know the itlog in Commonwealth Avenue, now hidden by Techno Hub. That's a containment structure of our research reactor. It's been here for almost like 60 years, and we built another one actually. And so PNRI has advanced equipment, and then we have very good people. We're not that big. Actually, interestingly, just today, I'm wearing a barong like this. I just came from the Senate. Our new nuclear law has been filed to create the independent nuclear regulatory body, which will be called PhilAtom.
Doctor, I'm sorry we're running out of time, but just as a final question, how worried should we be? How do we detect this? Can it be smelled by the dogs in our transport hubs? Second question is, where do we get the supply? Where do they get the supply? Are we a producer of uranium?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's answer the first one. We shouldn't worry about it because even if it's 100 kilograms, first they were caught by the NBI, and as I said, it cannot be made into a nuclear bomb, but the powdered form could have been made into a dirty bomb. But it looks like the people who were caught were not after. They were after making money. They didn't have the sophistication. Now, this didn't come from the Philippines. This is trafficked into the Philippines because we don't have we have uranium ore, a small amount, maybe somewhere in Larap, Bicol, but we don't produce it. So it was brought inside the country, and that's the worrying part because someone trafficked this. Now, in the port of Cebu and Manila, there are radiation detectors, like in our office. So if a container van passes through, and it has nuclear materials inside, some alarms will be rung. But we have many ports, so this was trafficked here clearly, and we don't know where that origin is yet. We can use some sophisticated analysis, isotope, because each uranium deposit has a unique signature. But that equipment we don't have yet. The U.S. has it. We can ask assistance from them or the IAEA.
Okay, very
But
quickly.
it's also possible that they sold this outside the country. At
Yes,
a third
Doctor.
party. We don't know that.
But rest assured that the correct authorities, apart from the PNRI or law enforcement authorities, also helping out in this investigation for the trafficking part, because that's also not good.
Yes, ma'am. There is a DTI office, Strategic Trade Management Office, that we're coordinating with also. And then we have a trained CBRN. Actually, the NBI did a very good job. And we also, it is the first time that we were involved in an operation like this. So, so it was a learning experience for everybody. But our people did this very well, and half of the people who did this are women, and it's not easy because they had to be hazmats, you know, and then in the operations, you have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to try to trap these people. But they were caught. Yun nga lang, nakapiyansa kasi ang mura ng piyansa.
Ayun
Well, we definitely have to amend our laws. Thank you for bringing that up,
Yes.
and we have to keep on watching out for this. In the meantime, thank you so much for updating us and joining us tonight on The Big Story. We have Dr. Carlo Arcilia of the DOST-PNRI.
All right, and like we said, we ran out of time a couple of minutes ago. So that's it for The Big Story on this Tuesday night.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in and have a good night. Stay tuned because coming up next is Play-by-Play with Andre Felix and Cheska Litton Calao.
Sorry, humiram kami ng 1 minute.
Any uranium-like performance there?
Nuclear-like.
I was not expecting that
performance
topic for tonight, to be honest with you.
Pwede ba sports na lang? Sabi nga uranium. Sige, okay, kaya na ni Ate Gretchen, ni Dita Sean, pati ni Boss Pao yan. Gusto mo ba? Pag-usapan natin uranium.
Okay na sports.
Well, for tonight, we don't have uranium. Thank you again to The Big Story. We've got the latest NBA and PBA scores, the next chapter in UP hero JD Cagulangan's career.
And we'll talk about our boxing team's 2024 success, National Boxing Federation Secretary General Marcos Manalo, and Asian Elite Championship silver medalist Marvin Tabamo join us live.
I'm Andre Felix.
And I'm Cheska Litton Calao.
And here's tonight's Play-by-Play.
The show by Mamoy Lee. Puts it up.